Hi guys, welcome back.
Hi everyone.
So it's just the two of us this week. James is away. Marissa and I were talking this week and we were like, we love The Lion King. And in a couple of episodes ago when we did the movies one, we were like, Marissa ended with like a whole thing about Lion King. And we were like, let's do an episode on that. And James doesn't really know that movie. So we were like, let's just do it while he's away. And so here we are talking about The Lion King.
Yeah, I would say about 2 years ago, maybe we heard on a podcast someone talk about The Lion King, and we were like, just talking as we normally do, and we're like, oh God, The Lion King, that was my favorite movie when I was younger. Mm-hmm. You were sharing how you took your nieces to see it like so many times in the movie theater. And I think the really cool part about movies that have such a big impact or have like a layer that maybe you didn't understand when you were younger is like you liked them for a reason. Mm-hmm. You liked them because something inside like felt good or there was like a connection. And then about a few years ago, we had watched it together as adults and we were blown away by the spiritual connection and the spiritual layers to it and different parts of us, identity and all the things. And yeah. And then so when we were talking about the movies and The Lion King came up, we were like, we have to see The Lion King. And so we watched it last night, both of us.
Yeah, in preparation for this. But the thing about The Lion King that like what Marissa, like what you just said reminds me is I was so into that movie when it first came out. I saw it. I took my nieces to see that movie 4 times. And I remember like loving it so much. And like you said, you don't know those implications of it. But to me, I think God uses everything. Like everything. And The Lion King, I'm not saying it's not like The Lord of the Rings, and it's not like Narnia. But God definitely used it to kind of draw me in to his world.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it at the time. And it was Restore the Glory. We were listening to Jake and Dr. Bob. And in that podcast, Jake was talking about how The Lion King to him mirrored Christianity. And I was like, I remember being like, what? Mm-hmm. I never thought that. But watching it 2 years ago with you and then watching it again last night, it is all over that movie. Like everywhere. Mm-hmm. So what's one of the things that stuck out to you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, what didn't? It was like, right, even like the start of the movie is like baptism.
Yeah.
Like the baby lion, Simba being born and everybody come and like celebrating him and joy, like just the joy of new birth and new life is like right away. And something that always stood out to me when I watched it was the color. Mm-hmm. So the way I remember I read something about movies and how they create weather and they create coloring based on the emotion of the movie. So I remember the brightness and the color and the green in the beginning of the movie when things were in order, when things were good. And then the way that the darkness came throughout the movie when Scar made all those bad decisions and murdered, and then he took over as king and it was black. Everything was gray and dark and black. And then by the end, when that you actually can see, like they have an image of just Pride Rock becoming from darkness to light. And so just the coloring within itself, I was 5 when the movie came out. Mm-hmm. And so I just think like as a little kid's being like almost taught that the coloring and the darkness and then the light and like the resurrection at the end was just something that like overall in general really stood out to me last night.
Yeah. And it's like, that is, as an English teacher, I'm like mood and tone. It's created by, know, but, and they did it so well in that movie. They did it so well. One of the things like that stood out to me, like I want to focus on Simba for a minute, like his innocence, like the innocence of that child who just wants to like play, who wants to make his own decisions, who has his own way. And like the truth of the fact that he did not see his uncle as anything other than somebody who would love him and take care of him. And, Scar would basically tell him like what he really was. And Simba would just be like, oh, you're so funny. Like he just didn't get it. He was so young and so innocent. But he wanted to do it his way. Like he made a whole song about it in the movie. Like when I'm going to be king, I'm going to do it my way. And like you see what his way got him into. Like the way that he just was like surrounded, and then his dad comes to the rescue and brings him out of it. And Mufasa was so mad at him when he first lied and did what he wanted to do. But then like you see Simba's like sorrowful heart, and then you see him repent and be like sorry, and you see Mufasa like just it's gone. And I felt like what a symbol of God's love. What a symbol of when you walk into the confessional. What a symbol of like forgiveness when it's done in the way that, you know, the Our Father tells us to forgive. And he just let it go. And that to me was such a beautiful testimony to like us. Like, and Simba let it go too. It's not like Simba held on to his mistakes. You know, he wasn't killing himself at that point based on his bad decisions. He just was accepting the forgiveness of his dad, which I think is what we do when we want to be forgiven. And maybe when we forgive too. It just seemed to be so freeing.
Yeah, I think the key is the innocence, like him being so young and him being able to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And to learn in the moment. Like it was like true fatherhood, true God relationship, God conviction, you know, like you did something wrong and I'm going to tell you did something wrong and there are consequences for that. But if you're sorry, I'm going to forgive you. And it was like you said, it was like such an instant, but all like the other things had to be said. You know, he had to go through that like step-by-step process. And to me, the word that's standing out to me at the end when he was forgiven is play. Like they were rolling around in the grass together and they were just having fun. And I think we forget so much that God is a God of joy and God is a God of fun for us, you know. If we ever experience a guided meditation or something, or someone guides you into an imaginative prayer where you're encountering Jesus, like I can't tell you how many times like I'm in something fun, or I'm young and I'm in the grass, or I'm on the beach, or I'm in the meadow of wildflowers and I'm dancing and I'm running. And it's like we forget that. I think especially as we get older, I think we forget the fun. I think we forget I mean, joy is one thing, but I think the word is more fun, freedom and fun.
Yeah. When you're forgiven and when your repentance is over, I think sometimes we still like to hold it against ourselves. And we like to be like, okay, now I have to be perfect. Now I have to make sure I listen all the time. Now I have to make sure. Whereas like you said, the youthfulness of that like freedom to just be like, it's done. Yeah. And now let's play.
Yeah.
Like, I think that is such an awesome testimony to like what true forgiveness and redemption is.
And the comparison of freedom, right? So just those 5 minutes of the movie of that freedom and fun and them rolling around in the grass together. Fast forward a little bit further into the movie when the Hakuna Matata saying comes out.
Yeah.
And they're pretending like that is freedom.
Yes.
And it looks perfect. It's joyful, it's freeing, no responsibilities, don't look at the past, at nothing matters. And the image where Timon opens the leaves and Simba gets to see where they live, and it's like, wow, I'm gonna forget everything about my past, I'm gonna forget who I am, and I'm gonna go here, and this is where freedom is.
Yes.
And I think that's where the false freedom actually comes from.
Yeah. And and I noticed that part too. And one of the first things that Simba says to them is, oh, this happened. And they were like, oh, well, Hakuna Matata, who cares? Who cares? We don't need to correct things. We don't need to worry. Let's just go on for the rest of your life. And Simba's words were, that's not what I was taught. But it was like the fleeting thought of like, that's not what I was taught came and went so fast because the fear of facing what he ran from, which if we go back a little bit to that part with when his father, I like that part of that movie. When I first watched it, I couldn't believe that the father died. Mm-hmm. Like in The Lion King, when Mufasa was like, I loved how he would have done anything and everything for his son. Mm-hmm. Like he sacrificed his own life to save his son. I mean, it doesn't get more Jesus-like than that. It really doesn't. And he did it without even counting the cost. And it was like in that moment, you watch Simba and you see like his innocence still. And he just lays with his dad, and then Scar shows up, which the enemy is an opportunist. Mm-hmm. If we're knocked down, if we're feeling like we made a mistake, or we're not good enough, or we didn't fulfill our obligation, or we let somebody down, he is the first one to stand and accuse. And just, he looked at Simba and he was like, look what you did. Mm-hmm. Look what you did. And Simba, in his innocence, still just believed him. Mm-hmm. And he was like, what do I do? And he was like, run away and never return. And that also stuck out to me. I was like, how many of us in our lives feel like we need to run from mistakes, run from lies, run from who we are, and never return? You know, I think parts of us are like, I can never go back to that place because it's my fault. Mm-hmm. And that's the lie. That's where the lies start to be like ingrown and take root, and then we make agreements. And that's exactly what Simba did. He made an agreement with the lie. And I think the good and evil is so obvious in this movie that it's like, okay. And what did he do? He ran for so many years. He ran and he hid. And he was seemingly okay where he was.
Until he wasn't. Yeah. And you know, just going back to the enemy being like an opportunist, it's like, yeah, who showed up? Who showed up first? You know, granted they weren't near home, but Scar was the one to show up first.
Yeah.
And when we don't know what we don't know.
No.
So if we're suggested a lie and we believe it because we just feel so bad and so hurt, then of course it's so easy. It's so easy to make those agreements when you're down.
Yeah.
You know? And
he set the whole thing up in the first place.
Exactly.
Which by the way is what the enemy does to us.
Exactly. And I just think, you know, it never worked out for Scar.
No.
You know, it never really worked out because to me, there was always something like good versus evil. Good is always going to win. And so in the movie, when you're watching the battle throughout it, I mean, it reminds me of our King David episode.
Yeah.
With training and, you know, like facing those battles in our lives, and then we can run from them and never look back at them again. Mm-hmm. But I think there was, I think it was Lisa Brinkenmeyer in one of her reflections on Hallow mentioned, like, if you tuck things away in the attic and you pretend like those things didn't happen, or those giants you faced never happened, if you maybe didn't win against them, they're just going to seep out and they're going to leak out into your life, and they're going to affect your life now. And I think when Simba and Timon and Pumbaa were laying in the fields and they were looking up at the stars, and they start reflecting on what the stars mean, and you see the shift in Simba's face when that past does leak back.
Yes.
Because we're human, like our brains, our hearts, we hold everything. We hold all of our memories, all of our past inside of us. And you can see the conflict starting to happen. Like, well, he was like back to the lion who said, that's not what I was taught.
Yeah.
You know, well, someone once told me that this is what that means, you know?
And they laughed at him.
And they laughed. Yeah. And they were innocent. Mm-hmm. They didn't know, you know? So I just think that the way in which God never leaves you, no matter which choice you make. And that was what I think was shown in that moment, is he's still there. And he's not going to be in your face about it.
No.
You know, Simba was perfectly fine for all of those years, never remembering. But when he did, it's like they were all there. And God was still there, most importantly, reminding him of who he was.
Yeah. And when Nala shows up.
Oh, gosh.
When she shows up and she like says, like, what happened to you? And he was like, what do you mean? I'm fine. And she was like, you're not responding to who you're supposed to be. You are a king. And I don't know if you guys know this, but we are baptized priest, prophet, king. Every single one of us. We are priest, we are prophet, we are king. And it's like we also sacrifice our identity for the lies that try and hold us down. We sacrifice our identities for the parts of us that tell us, no, that's not you. You're never enough. You can't be enough. Look what you did. And that's where Simba was stuck. Simba was like, no, don't remind me of those things. Don't remind me of those days. And it's not like the days with his family were bad. Those days were good. But he was terrified of them because of the lies that surrounded his truth of who he is, which is who we are. And he fought her. He was like, I'm not going back. And she couldn't understand why. Like, it made no sense to her. And he still didn't tell her.
I know.
He didn't tell her the truth because he was still afraid.
Yeah.
He was still believing the lie that he did, that he killed his dad.
And I think that God puts people in your life, right, to remind you of that. I think there are certain people in our lives who are willing to call us out. Not right away. Not everybody is willing to, and not everybody can do it in a way that you can hear. But for some reason, he heard her, but still had to do it on his own. And like you said, he never told her and then went back. No. I think the rise of him was when he actually did go back, still believing that he was the reason why his father was dead. So I think, and he was willing to walk back and face them, all the lions, with the shame.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was like, okay, I learned it really wasn't me. Now I'm going back. He was like, okay, I'm taking all of what I believe, right, wrong, or different, and I'm going back.
All parts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because so first he encounters Nala, who and I think that is such a typical way God works. He's like, I'm going to put somebody in front of you who loves you as you are, but will ask for more. And then he ran into Rafiki. And
the best.
When Rafiki shows up and just smacks him over the head.
Yep.
But when he was able to follow and listen to what I would consider for us in our walk is the Holy Spirit trying to prompt you. You notice he had to go through the thorns. He had to go through the trees. It was there was knots in his way. There was in order to get to the place where he was looking for himself, which was just the lake, and seeing an image of himself as he is, you saw it wasn't an easy walk.
No.
Going there, he had to break through tree branches and darkness, and things were trying to snag him and pull him back. And that reminds me of Teresa of Avila, because in her writings, it's always from when you go from one mansion to another in the interior castle, it's always, whenever you're making progress or heading towards where God's calling you, there's always going to be these things trying to pull you back and tell you that you're not worthy, that you're not enough, that you can't go. And what they did in The Lion King, I thought, was show the physical battle of that. Him trying to get through the darkness and to come out the other end of it. And that was I think that's how we feel. Yeah. When life is hard. And when I mean, how many people, when you try and make a move towards Jesus, everything gets in the way.
Oh, of course.
Everything. Oh, I think I'm going to go to church this week. And then it's something distracts you or something stands in the way. It's just little things like that, oh, you can't go this week because this is happening, or you have this instead. And listen, that's fine, but it's also with purpose to try and prevent you from going to the living water, which is where Simba was trying to get to, the water. And what does water always symbolize in the Bible? It's baptism. It's renewal. It's reemerging as that new creation, you know? And I just see that that's what we do too. And it's okay, because to me, he'll just keep coming. Jesus will just keep coming for you. But he went back.
Wow. I didn't catch that. But watching it and then seeing it and comparing it to our own lives. I mean, how many times you're like, oh, I have a headache 20 minutes before I'm supposed to go to church or mass or whatever, where I fell asleep, or even as far as being in the car. There was one day Janine and I were trying to get to mass or church or something. I don't remember what it was. And like roads were closed, literally roads were closed. And I'm like, I'm going to get there if it's the last thing I do.
Yeah.
You know, but you don't realize it. And it's innocent.
Yeah.
It's innocent, but it is a battle. And I think the beautiful part of Rafiki being there as just a support, someone walking with you in the walk and guiding you and helping you and breaking the illusion. Because what I saw when he got to the water was he was like, I just see every lie I believe about myself. And then he was like, no, look again, look again. And then it's almost as if when that water transformed into the face of Mufasa, but really Simba, it was like, I almost saw it as like glass shattering and him realizing like his true identity, like losing and falling away from the illusion of who he thinks he actually is. And yeah, wow, the brilliance of that and the battle that we faced to get there.
And like you said, without fully understanding, he still went home. Of course. He still went home. And I feel like that's another thing that it's like, sometimes going back to your faith, sometimes going back to your church, sometimes going back to Jesus it's like going home. But we just sometimes forget our way. And sometimes we think that those other things of our past make it so we can't go or we shouldn't go or we're not welcome. And I feel like what Simba represents, and I can't believe we're actually doing this with the Lion King, but what Simba actually represents in that moment is the willingness to go back no matter what, whether he thinks he's worthy or not, whether he believes the lies or not. He just went. And he went with boldness.
The prodigal son.
Yep.
That's really, I feel like James would say something like that.
Totally.
If he was here.
Could you imagine the things he would say right now? He would have so much wisdom.
I know, without even seeing The Lion King, because it's just true. It's just such a depiction of the way we live our lives. And of Rafiki, the one part that it's like a simple part, but this is what really reminded me of our David episode too, when James was talking about going into a fight. And he said at one point, you go into a fight and you maybe lose, you get beat up a little or whatever, and then you leave and you train again for your next fight, or you just train and practice or whatever. And he was like, and you learn from it. You train differently, you practice differently. And the part when Simba was like, I can't go, like I don't remember the exact line he said, but he basically was like, the past is in the past. Like, I don't forget about it. And he was like, there's nothing I can do. I think he said there was nothing I can do about it anymore. And Rafiki was like, bashed him over the head with his stick. And Simba was like, what'd you do that for? And then, a few seconds later, Rafiki goes to do it again and Simba ducks out of the way. And he was like, see, you use your past to learn.
Yes.
And I was like, that was so simple, but so brilliant. And to me, I was like, oh my God, I loved that part. Because you don't even like, no, he didn't even know he learned that, but he just instinctually just was like ducked out of the way because he knew he was going to get hit over the head again.
Yeah. And I noticed that part too. And that was just before he went home.
Yeah.
And when he finally did go home, it was like, what happened the second he showed up? Scar shows up and immediately accuses him. Tell them what you did. Tell them. And he's like, in the Bible, it says that the devil roars and circles you like a prowling lion looking to devour you. And that's exactly what he was doing in that scene. Simba's standing there and he is circling him and accusing him and saying like, tell them, go ahead, you killed your father. Tell them what you did. And Simba couldn't get the words right to defend himself. he's like, is it true? Is it true? Is it true? And Simba's like, yes, but no. And he was like, so you admit it. Like, it was like the accusation was so accurately portrayed, how it's done biblically. And even the voice, it was like Simba couldn't get a word in. He couldn't defend himself. He had no defense. And the liar just kept going and going. And his mom and Nala and all of the other lions were like looking at him like, is this true? You know? And we don't even know how they would have reacted, because it just defeated him so much that he almost died the exact same way his father did. It was like, and then that's when Scar revealed the truth. And once that truth of, I'm not what you say I am, came through to Simba, he had this power to just overcome it and break through. And that's when he became fully alive, so to speak, in his own identity of like, you lied. That's not who I am, you know? And isn't that how it works? Isn't that how it works? It's like, you listen to those lies because they're confusing you and they're partial truth. That's what the enemy is. He always gives a part of the truth. And we fall for it because we don't realize that our defense is in our true identity anyway.
Right. Yeah. I can't stop hearing Mufasa go, remember who you are. Remember who you are. And that just lives in every single one of us.
Yeah. It's the whole Psalms.
Exactly. Yeah, it's oddly so connected to King David.
Yeah.
That episode. But yeah, it was just, honestly, if you guys haven't seen it in a long time, like, it can't help but say, like, give it a try. It's, you know, not like the long movies like are now. It's only like an hour and a half, but it will just open up a whole new perspective.
Yeah.
To something maybe from your childhood or when your kids were younger. But yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. And just remember who you are. Remember whose you are. Remember that you are not what those lies try and tell you that you are. You are more. You're king, you're queen, you're prophet, you're priest, you're it all. That's what you are.
And if you spend years and a long time believing them or living in them or owning them and agreeing with them, there's always a chance to turn back. There's always a chance to turn back and come home.
Yep.
And rise.
Because
when you come home, you rise. You rise in a way like never before.
Yeah. All right. So, tiny miracles.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like there's been so many this week. But I think just the opportunity to grow in creativity this week. We're off this week. And I just think we've had the time and the space to really just get our hands like dirty in our projects and, you know, our content. And I just think it's been a really like uplifting experience.
Yeah. Yeah. My tiny miracle is very similar to that, because we actually had just started thinking about, you know, on our Instagram, we have like a lot of different prayers and people love those little short prayers, but I'm always getting questioned like, how do I say this? How do I do that? And I was like, oh, why don't we just make a 2-minute prayer where we actually go through the prayer with them so that the prayer is available. And I felt like God was like, yeah, why don't you make a 2-minute prayer that aligns with your podcast episode? And this way you release the podcast and then the next day you can release the prayer that goes with it so that people can have like the conversation, the history, the story, and then a quick prayer to go with it. So the Tiny Miracle is like that new invitation to prayer that we're going to be putting out every single week to align and connect with the theme of whatever the podcast is. And we try and make the prayers very like down to earth and relatable to what you're going through today. So my Tiny Miracle is going to be like, you know, a new way of praying maybe.
Yeah, we don't just want to spend, 40 minutes or so sharing with you. We want to accompany you for the week on the topic that we talk about or the movements of our heart. And we want to pray alongside you. So this is our opportunity to do so.
Yeah. And you know what? The thing is, you can listen to that prayer anytime you want. And it's on YouTube and it's free and it doesn't cost a thing. But we would greatly appreciate it if you would like, share, and subscribe on YouTube and on Spotify and on Apple. It really helps us in our ministry.
Yeah, the prayers will be available on YouTube under our 2-minute quick prayer, pray with us series. We'll have a special playlist dedicated to that. And of course, we'll also release it on Instagram and share it with everybody that we can. So it'll be out there, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye. Later, alligator.
It was like empty without that.
Mm-hmm.